Welcome to Verity Tales. Today, we delve into the fascinating history of Finland, a land rich with cultural heritage and historical significance. From ancient times to modern days, Finland's journey is one of profound transformation. Let's embark on this historical voyage together. In the ancient era, the land that is now Finland saw its first settlers arriving around 8500 BC, during the Stone Age, as the last glacial period was drawing to a close. These early inhabitants, hunter-gatherers who used stone tools, left behind artifacts that bore similarities to those found in Estonia, Russia, and Norway. By 5200 BC, the advent of the comb ceramic culture marked the introduction of pottery to the region. Between 300 and 2500 BC, the corded ware culture arrived on the southern coast of Finland, potentially coinciding with the beginnings of agriculture. Despite this agricultural shift, hunting and fishing remained crucial to the subsistence economy. During the Bronze Age, the practice of year-round cultivation and animal husbandry began to spread, albeit slowly due to the harsh climate. The Scimitar-Bino phenomenon introduced the first bronze artifacts and possibly the Finno-Ugric languages to the region. Commercial contacts, initially limited to Estonia, started extending to Scandinavia. By 1300 BC, Finland had begun domestic production of bronze artifacts. The Iron Age saw a population increase, with Finland proper becoming the most densely populated area. Commercial exchanges in the Baltic Sea region flourished during the 8th and 9th centuries. Finland's primary exports included furs, slaves, castoreum, and falcons to European courts, while imports consisted of silk, other fabrics, jewelry, Ulfbert swords, and some glass. Iron production commenced around 500 BC. By the end of the 9th century, local artifacts, especially weapons and women's jewelry, exhibited unique Finnish characteristics, suggesting a burgeoning Finnish identity. Around 1900 BC, an early form of Finnic languages spread to the Baltic Sea region, with a common Finnic language spoken around the Gulf of Finland 2,000 years ago. The dialects that evolved into modern Finnish emerged during the Iron Age. While the Sami people, who were distantly related to the Finns, retained their hunter-gatherer lifestyle for longer, their cultural identity and language have endured in Lapland, the northernmost province. The name Suomi, Finnish for Finland, has uncertain origins, though it is believed to share etymological roots with Same, the Sami. The earliest historical sources from the 12th and 13th centuries referred to the coastal region around Turku as Finland. This area later became known as Finland proper, distinguishing it from the broader country name. During the 12th and 13th centuries, the northern Baltic Sea was a violent region. The Livonian Crusade was underway, and Finnish tribes such as the Tavastians and Karelians frequently clashed with Novgorod and each other. Catholic realms from the Baltic Sea area launched several crusades against the Finnish tribes. The Danes conducted at least 3 crusades to Finland in 1187 or slightly earlier, in 1191, and in 1202, while the Swedes, possibly during the so-called Second Crusade to Finland in 1249, targeted the Tavastians, and the Third Crusade to Finland in 1293 was aimed at the Karelians. The so-called First Crusade to Finland, purportedly in 1155, likely never occurred. As a result of these crusades, particularly the Second Crusade led by Birger Jarl, and the colonization of some Finnish coastal areas by Christian Swedish populations during the Middle Ages, Finland gradually became part of the Kingdom of Sweden and fell under the influence of the Catholic Church. Under Swedish rule, Finland was incorporated into the cultural sphere of Western Europe. Swedish became the dominant language among the nobility, administration, and education, while Finnish was primarily spoken by the peasantry, clergy, and in local courts in predominantly Finnish-speaking areas. During the Protestant Reformation, Finns gradually converted to Lutheranism. In the 16th century, Lutheran reformer Michael Agricola published the first written works in Finnish, and King Gustav Vasa founded Helsinki in 1555. The Royal Academy of Turku, Finland's first university, was established in 1640 by Queen Christina of Sweden at the proposal of Count Brahe. During the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648, Finnish cavalrymen, known as Hakapelijoita, gained a reputation for their skill. However, Finland suffered severely from famine in 1695 to 1697, which claimed about a third of the population, followed by a devastating plague. In the 18th century, wars between Sweden and Russia led to the Russian occupation of Finland twice, periods known as the Greater Wrath 1714 to 1721, and the Lesser Wrath 1742 to 1743. The Great Wrath was particularly destructive, resulting in significant loss of life and the burning of Helsinki. It is estimated that nearly an entire generation of young men was lost during this period, primarily due to the widespread destruction of homes and farms. In 1809, the Swedish era in Finland came to an end with the conclusion of the Finnish War. On March 29, 1809, after the armies of Alexander I of Russia had conquered Finland, it was established as an autonomous Grand Duchy under the Russian Empire, a status officially recognized by the Diet of Porvoo. This arrangement persisted until the end of 1917. In 1812, Alexander I further incorporated the Russian province of Vyborg into the Grand Duchy of Finland. Finland found itself embroiled in the Crimean War in 1854, when British and French navies bombarded the Finnish coast and Åland during the Åland War. Despite the widespread use of Swedish, the Finnish language began to gain recognition during this period. From the 1860s onward, the Fennoman movement, a strong nationalist movement, began to grow. Led by figures like J.V. Snellman, the movement worked to stabilize the status of the Finnish language and establish the Finnish marka as the currency of the Grand Duchy of Finland. Significant milestones included the publication of the national epic, the Kalevala, in 1835, and the legal recognition of Finnish as equal to Swedish in 1892. This period saw the rise of a Finnish national identity, inspired by the sentiment of Adolf Ivar Arvidsson. "We are not Swedes. We do not want to become Russians, so let us be Finns." However, a genuine independence movement did not emerge until the early 20th century. The Finnish famine of 1866 to 1868, caused by freezing temperatures that devastated crops, resulted in the death of around 15% of the population, making it one of the worst famines in European history. In response, the Russian Empire relaxed financial regulations, leading to increased investment and rapid economic development in the subsequent decades. From 1869 to 1917, the Russian Empire pursued a policy of Russification in Finland, which was temporarily suspended between 1905 and 1908. In 1906, universal suffrage was introduced, but the relationship between Finland and the Russian Empire deteriorated as the Russian government took steps to limit Finland's autonomy. The February Revolution of 1917 brought Finland's status as a Grand Duchy under Russian rule into question. The Finnish parliament, controlled by the Social Democrats, passed the Power Act to assert supreme authority, but this was rejected by the Russian Provisional Government, which dissolved the parliament. New elections resulted in a narrow victory for right-wing parties, but the Social Democrats contested the legitimacy of the elections. The October Revolution in Russia further shifted the geopolitical landscape. With the Bolsheviks in power, the right-wing parties in Finland reconsidered their stance, and on December 4, 1917, Prime Minister P.E. Svinhufvud's government presented the Declaration of Independence, which was approved by the Finnish parliament on December 6. The Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, led by Vladimir Lenin, was the first to recognize Finland's independence on January 4, 1918. On January 27, 1918, the Finnish government began to disarm Russian forces in Ostrobothnia. The socialists seized control of southern Finland and Helsinki, while the white government continued in exile in Vasa. This led to a brief but bitter civil war, with the whites, backed by Imperial Germany, ultimately prevailing over the Reds and their self-proclaimed Finnish Socialist Workers' Republic. Following a failed attempt to establish a monarchy with Prince Frederick Charles of Hesse as king, Finland became a presidential republic. In 1919, K.J. Ståhlberg, a liberal nationalist with a legal background, was elected as the first president. Ståhlberg anchored the state in liberal democracy, promoted the rule of law, and initiated internal reforms. The Finnish-Russian border was established by the Treaty of Tartu in 1920, which largely followed the historical border but granted Finland Pechinga, Petsamo, and its Barents seaport. Despite Soviet coup attempts and the anti-communist Lapua movement, Finnish democracy endured. By 1917, Finland's population had grown to 3 million. On November 30, 1939, the Soviet Union launched the Winter War with the intent to annex Finland. Despite the initial Soviet advances, the Red Army faced significant defeats. The Moscow Peace Treaty was signed on March 12, 1940, ending the war the following day. Finland successfully defended its independence, but was forced to cede 9% of its territory to the Soviet Union. Hostilities resumed in June 1941 with a continuation war, when Finland allied with Germany to regain lost territory. The Lapland War of 1944 to 1945 followed, during which Finland fought retreating German forces in northern Finland. The subsequent treaties with the Soviet Union imposed obligations, restraints, and reparations on Finland, but the country retained its independence. After the war, Finland transformed from a primarily agrarian society to an industrialized one. Trade with Western powers and reparations to the Soviet Union facilitated this change. By 1950, 46% of Finnish workers were employed in agriculture, and a third lived in urban areas. The rapid economic growth continued, and by 1975, Finland's GDP per capita ranked 15th highest in the world. Officially neutral during the Cold War, Finland existed in a gray zone between the Western countries and the Soviet bloc. Despite the political climate, Finland maintained a market economy and developed one of the most extensive welfare states globally. The early 1990s brought a deep recession, but Finland recovered and integrated more closely with the West, joining the European Union in 1995 and the Eurozone in 1999. Finnish support for NATO increased sharply after the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022, leading to Finland officially becoming a member on April 4, 2023. From its ancient beginnings to its emergence as a resilient and independent nation, Finland's history is a testament to the strength and determination of its people. Join us next time on Verity Tales as we continue to uncover the captivating stories of our world's past. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more historical adventures. Thank you and goodbye.